The sun had not yet risen on the outer colony of Torvin 5, but the lights inside the food storage unit flickered awake. It was quiet. Too quiet. Then, without warning, a red light began to flash. The security system had been triggered. Someone was inside who shouldn't be. A loud alarm buzzed across the colony. Sleepy workers rubbed their eyes and checked their tablets. A message blinked. Storage breach detected. Unauthorized access. Within minutes, a few guards ran to the scene. But by the time they got there, the lock was broken, and some boxes of food were gone. Basic supplies like nutrient bars, dried fruits, and water packs. Colonists gathered around, whispering. Was it another animal? Or maybe one of those alien thieves? They're getting bolder, stealing from us now. But Callan, a quiet technician in his late 30s, didn't speak. He stood at the back, watching. He had worked on the storage unit's cameras last month. He knew they might still be active. Later that morning, Callan went to the control room and pulled up the video feed. He watched the recording closely. There, on the screen, was a small figure, covered in a long, worn cloak. The figure moved carefully, holding something close to their chest. They didn't touch much, just took what was needed and left quickly. Callan zoomed in. His heart skipped a beat. Under the hood, he saw thin blue fingers and a tired face with sharp alien features. But it wasn't just the alien that caught his attention. The figure was carrying a small bundle, a baby, a mother. Callan whispered to himself. That afternoon, while others were searching the colony border, Callan made a quiet choice. He packed a small bag with food and water and left without telling anyone. He followed the rocky path along the cliffs outside the colony's fence. The land was dry and cracked. Most people didn't go there. That's why he chose it. He had a feeling. After an hour of walking, Callan found something strange. A small trail of crumbs, barely noticeable. Someone had dropped a food bar wrapper too. He followed the trail into a narrow canyon and saw a dark opening in the rock, a cave. He paused, listening. A soft sound echoed from inside. A baby's cry. Callan slowly stepped inside. The light from his tablet screen showed the cave's rough walls. And then he saw her. A tall, thin alien woman sat in the corner, her back to the wall. Her skin was a pale bluish color, and her cheeks were sunken from hunger. Her arms wrapped tightly around a small baby who cried weakly. The woman looked up and gasped. Fear filled her eyes. "Please, don't hurt," she said in broken English. Her voice shook. "Just, baby. Hungry." Callan didn't move closer. He knelt down and opened his bag. Slowly, he placed a water bottle and a soft food pack on the ground, then slid them toward her. The alien woman stared at the items, confused. She didn't trust him yet. "It's okay," Callan said softly. "I won't tell anyone. You need this more than we do." Still shaking, she picked up the water bottle and helped her baby drink first. Only after the child stopped crying did she eat a little herself. She didn't finish the pack. She saved half of it, wrapping it carefully in cloth. Callan sat across from her in silence. After some time, the woman spoke again. "My name?" "Zira," she said, pointing to herself. "I not soldier. I not spy. I only mother. Crash. Here. Many days ago." "Zira," Callan repeated. "I'm Callan." Zira looked at him, her eyes tired but grateful. "Thank Callan." He learned bits of her story. Her ship had been a small escape craft from a destroyed transport vessel. She had fled with her child from a war in another sector. No one knew she had landed here. Her ship had broken into pieces on the far side of the cliffs. Since then, she had been hiding, eating wild roots, drinking rainwater, and when her baby started crying from hunger, she made the hard choice to steal. "I thought, human hate us," Zira said. "Thought, you kill." Callan shook his head. "Some people fear what they don't know. But I've seen fear before. I know what it looks like." You're not a threat. You're a mother trying to keep her baby alive. Zira's hands trembled. She wiped her eyes. No one helped before. You help. He nodded. I'll bring more tomorrow. But you can't stay here for long. The patrols may find you. We'll figure something out. I promise. As he stood to leave, Zira stopped him. She looked down at her baby who had fallen asleep on her chest, then looked up at Callan. You save us, she said quietly. Thank you. Callan gave a small smile. Not yet, but I will. Outside the cave, the wind picked up. He zipped his jacket and walked back toward the colony, knowing he had just made a choice that might change everything. For himself, for Zira, and maybe even for the entire colony. The next morning, Callan left the colony before sunrise. He walked carefully, carrying another bag full of supplies. Soft food, blankets, a medical kit, and even a small stuffed toy he found in a storage bin. He didn't want anyone to see him. If someone asked where he was going, he had no good answer. He reached the rocky cliffs and followed the same path as before. The cave was quiet. Callan gently called out, Zira, it's me. She peeked from behind a rock wall, baby in her arms. When she saw his face, her shoulders relaxed. She still looked tired, but her eyes held a bit of light now. Hope. I bring food, Callan said, lifting the bag. Zira walked slowly toward him and sat on the ground. She carefully laid her baby down on a soft blanket. The child was no longer crying but still looked weak. Callan handed her water and a food pack. She took it with shaking hands and fed her baby first. Then she looked at Callan and spoke quietly. Scared. Thought you leave. I won't leave, Callan replied. Not until I find a way to help you. Zira nodded slowly, then placed her hand over her heart. You. Different. Other humans. No trust. You. Kind. Callan smiled, then pulled out a small translation device from his coat pocket. This might help. You can speak through this, it'll make your words clearer. He handed her the device and showed her how to wear it around her neck. Zira pressed the button and said slowly, Thank you, Callan. The words came out, clearly in his language. He sat near her, listening as Zira told more of her story. She had once lived on a peaceful planet, but war came when her people refused to join a powerful empire. Cities were destroyed. Many families escaped, but her husband had been lost during the attack. She managed to get on a small transport with her baby, but the ship was damaged. It broke apart above Torvin 5. Most of the crew died. She had survived only because her pod landed far from the colony. I don't know if anyone else made it, she said through the device. I've been hiding since. I didn't know what humans would do if they found us. Callan understood. The colony had been attacked before, by a different alien race. Since then, many people feared all outsiders. If they found Zira, they might treat her the same. We need to keep you hidden, Callan said. I'll bring supplies, but you can't stay in this cave forever. It's too open. Zira looked down at her baby. Then where? Callan thought for a moment. He knew, an old mining shelter deep in the forest, far from the colony's main roads. It had been abandoned years ago. No one went there anymore. There's a place, he said. I'll take you there tonight. You'll be safer. Zira didn't answer right away. She looked tired and worried. Why? Help me. Callan was silent for a moment. Because I know what it feels like to lose everything. My wife, she passed away 5 years ago. I lost my child before she was born. Since then, I've just worked, lived alone. When I saw you and your baby, something inside me said I had to help. Zira reached out and gently touched his hand. You gave me hope again. That night, after the colony had gone quiet, Callan returned with a small hover cart. He helped Zira wrap her baby and load their things. Together, they moved carefully through the shadows and into the forest. It took almost an hour to reach the shelter. The building was old, made of metal and stone, but it still had a roof and walls. Inside there was a broken cot, a small power unit, and storage shelves. Callan checked everything and started a small heater. "This is home for now," he said. "I'll come every day, just like before." Zira looked around. It was much better than the cave. She placed her baby on the cot and covered him with the blanket Callan brought. Then she turned to him and bowed her head. "I can never repay you," she said softly. Callan shook his head. "I don't need anything. Just keep your baby safe." For the next few days, Callan came and went. He brought more food, clean clothes, and even a solar lantern. Zira began to look stronger. Her baby started making soft, happy sounds. They talked more. She asked questions about humans, what they ate, how they raised children, what words meant. Callan answered with patience and even made her laugh a few times. But not everything was peaceful. Back at the colony, the guards noticed that more food was missing. Someone had taken medical supplies too. The leader of security, a sharp-eyed woman named Mara, began to investigate. "Something's going on," Mara told the workers. "I want eyes on all storage rooms, and I want to know where everyone is at all times. Someone's hiding something." Callan heard the warning. His heart pounded. If they found Zira, they might arrest her, or worse. He had to be more careful. Now, one evening as he left the forest, he noticed a patrol drone fly overhead. He ducked behind a rock, holding his breath. The drone passed, but it scanned the area. A red light blinked briefly. Callan knew what that meant. Something had been detected. He rushed back to the shelter and warned Zira. "They're getting closer. We have to be ready. I'll try to repair your emergency beacon. If I can fix it, maybe someone from your people will come." Zira looked both hopeful and scared. "Do you think they'll listen?" "If I explain what's happened, maybe," Callan said. "Maybe someone out there will care." That night he sat by his workbench, studying the broken beacon device Zira had saved from her pod. He didn't know if it would work, but he had to try. The shelter in the forest had become a quiet home for Zira and her baby. The broken mining hut was no palace, but it had warmth, food, and safety. Each day, the baby smiled a little more. Zira even began to hum soft lullabies in her native tongue, something she hadn't done since the war began. Callan continued to visit daily. He came with food, medicine, and small tools to help Zira feel more at ease. He fixed the cot, sealed a leak in the roof, and even set up a small light that ran on solar energy. In the evenings, they would talk, Zira through the translator, and sometimes laugh, though both still carried silent wounds inside. But outside their peaceful space, danger was growing. Back in the colony, people were whispering again. More. Food missing. Medical kits, too. "We can't keep ignoring this." Mara, the head of security, tightened the patrols. She didn't trust anyone, especially those who kept to themselves. And Callan had been acting strangely, leaving camp early, avoiding others, always looking tired. One afternoon, she quietly followed him. She stayed far behind, wearing a cloaking field that made her almost invisible in the trees. Callan didn't notice. He walked carefully with a bag over his shoulder, always checking the path behind him, though not well enough. Mara raised her wrist tablet and took pictures as he moved toward the forest. When he disappeared into the trees, she frowned. "Where are you going, Callan?" she whispered. Meanwhile, in the shelter, Callan arrived as usual and gave Zira the bag. "I brought more baby wipes and something special," he said, smiling. Zira opened the bag and gasped. Inside was a soft yellow blanket with a pattern of tiny animals. "It's warm," she said, wrapping it around her child. "He will sleep well." Callan then pulled out the small beacon device and placed it on the table. It still had cracks along the side, but its screen was lit for the first time. "I think it's working," he said. Zira stood slowly. "You fixed it?" "Maybe. The signal is weak, but I've linked it to my old relay system. If a ship passes near this system, it might catch the signal." Zira's eyes filled with tears. "You gave me a chance?" Callan lowered his head. "You deserve it." But before they could say more, a soft beep came from the door. It was a motion sensor Callan had installed. Someone was outside. He grabbed a scanner and looked at the screen. A small red dot blinked. "Someone's here," he whispered. Zira held her baby tight and backed into the corner. Her body shook. The door creaked open slowly and Mara stepped inside, weapon drawn. She froze when she saw Zira. Her eyes widened. "You brought an alien here?" she said coldly. "You're the one stealing supplies." Zira fell to her knees and shielded her baby. "Please, don't hurt," she said softly. Mara looked down at the weak mother, her trembling hands, her thin arms wrapped around her child. Then she looked at Callan. "I should arrest you," she said. "Both of you." "Please listen," Callan replied. "She's not a threat. She's a refugee. Her ship crashed. She's hiding because she thought we'd kill her." Mara kept her weapon raised. "And you just decided to play hero?" Callan stood tall. "No, I made a choice. I saw someone in need and helped. Is that so wrong?" "She stole from us," Mara snapped. "She stole to keep her baby alive," Callan said calmly. "I saw the footage. She didn't take more than she needed. I covered the rest. I replaced what she took." Mara lowered her gun slightly. "Why didn't you report this?" "Because you wouldn't have listened," he said. "You would have locked her up. Or worse." There was silence. Zira gently placed the baby on the cot. "I am sorry," she said. "I did not want to steal. I was hungry. My child needed food." Mara looked into Zira's tired, honest eyes. Something inside her shifted. She wasn't a soldier. She was a mother. And the baby looked just like any baby. Innocent, fragile, breathing softly under that new yellow blanket. Mara sighed. "I'll get in trouble if anyone finds out I saw this." Callan nodded. "I understand. Just give me time. I think the beacon is working. If we can reach her people, they might come for her." Mara looked at the device. Its screen was blinking gently. "You have 2 days," she said. "Fix it. Get her out. After that, I can't protect you." Callan bowed his head in thanks. "Thank you, Mara." Mara turned to Zira. "If you run again, we can't help you. Stay here, stay hidden." Zira nodded. "I understand." Without another word, Mara stepped outside and disappeared into the forest shadows. That night, the shelter was silent. Zira sat beside Callan, holding her child while he worked on tuning the signal. Sparks flew. Circuits glowed. The signal grew stronger. "Do you think they'll hear us?" Zira asked softly. Callan looked at the sky through a small crack in the roof. Stars blinked above, cold and distant. "I don't know," he said. "But we're trying, and that matters." Zira smiled gently. Her baby yawned, his tiny hand gripping her finger. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to dream, not just of survival, but of a future. The sun rose slowly over the colony of Torvin 5, casting a soft orange glow across the quiet buildings. Most colonists were busy with their morning routines, but Callan's mind was somewhere else. He had been up all night trying to boost the signal from the damaged beacon. Inside the forest shelter, the beacon's soft blue light blinked steadily now. It was working, but barely. A signal was being sent, but whether someone would hear it was still unknown. Zira sat quietly on the edge of the old cot, her baby sleeping beside her. She had not said much since Mara left the previous evening. Though Mara had promised to stay silent for now, fear still hung in the air like a shadow. Callan handed her a warm drink and sat across from her. "We're getting close," he said. "The beacon is stable. I think someone out there will hear us soon." Zira nodded, then looked at him with soft eyes. "You saved me. And my child. I can never forget." Callan smiled slightly. "You would have done the same." But just as hope began to grow, everything started to fall apart. In the colony control room, Mara sat staring at her screen. Her mind was filled with conflict. She knew what she saw. An alien mother, not a threat. But rules were clear. Any unregistered alien contact had to be reported immediately. She took a deep breath and opened the security logs. But before she could do anything, another officer entered in a rush. "Ma'am, we've picked up a signal. It's a short-range beacon, alien frequency." Mara froze. "Where?" "Sector E9, near the old mining shelter." Her heart skipped a beat. That was where Zira was hiding. The officer looked confused. "Do you think it's a trap?" Mara shook her head slowly. "No, but get a drone over there. Quietly." Back in the forest, Kalen noticed the flicker of a red light through the trees. "Stay inside," he told Zira quickly. "Someone's scanning us." He grabbed a signal jammer and rushed outside. Just above the treetops, a small patrol drone hovered, its camera blinking. Kalen pulled out a small tool and pointed it at the drone. A sharp zap of energy surged from his handheld device and the drone spun in the air before crashing into the ground nearby. Zira came to the doorway, baby in her arms. "What happened?" "They found us," Kalen said. "That drone was from the colony. They're onto us now." Zira's hands began to tremble. "What do we do?" "We stick to the plan," Kalen said. "We power the beacon and pray someone hears us before the colony acts." He bent over the beacon and turned the signal to maximum. A sharp tone echoed in the shelter. Back at the colony, the drone's last message was scrambled. Officers gathered around the screen. "It was destroyed," one said. Mara tried to keep calm. "It might have just failed, or was hit by an animal," but others weren't so sure. Too many strange things lately. Food missing, medical supplies gone, and now an alien signal from our backyard. An emergency meeting was called. The colony's leaders debated whether to send a full squad to Sector E9. "We can't risk alien threats this close to home," said one leader. Mara stayed quiet. She knew if a full squad went out there, Kalen and Zira would be discovered for sure. She stood up. "Give me until sundown," she said. "Let me check it myself. If there's any danger, I'll report it. But if it's not a threat, we avoid conflict." The leaders agreed, but only for a few hours. Zira paced the shelter. Her child stirred uneasily in her arms. "I should leave," she said. "If they find me, they will punish you." "I'm not letting you go out there alone," Kalen replied. "If they come, I'll protect you." "You've done enough," Zira whispered. "You owe me nothing." Kalen walked to her and placed his hand gently on her shoulder. "It's not about owing. It's about what's right." Just then the beacon flashed, this time brighter than ever. A new sound echoed from it. A response. Zira's eyes widened. "They heard us." Kalen stared at the screen. A message appeared. "Rescue ship inbound. Stand by. Coordinates received." Tears rolled down Zira's face. "They're coming. My people. They're coming." But joy quickly turned to worry. "How long?" Kalen asked. Zira read the message again. 3 hours. "That might be just enough. If the colony doesn't act fast." Mara returned to the shelter alone. She raised her hand before Kalen could speak. "I had to lie to them. They'll send soldiers by nightfall if I don't report back." Zira stepped forward. "We received a message. Rescue ship coming in 3 hours." Mara's eyes narrowed. "Can it land here?" "Yes," Zira nodded. "But not if your weapons fire on it. They might leave again." Mara sighed. "Then we hide the signal, jam the air. I'll buy you time." She handed Kalen a colony jammer key. "This will block our sensors for a few hours. Use it wisely." Kalen looked at her, deeply grateful. "You're risking everything." Mara gave a tired smile. "Maybe it's time we stop seeing aliens and start seeing people." She turned and left. As the hours passed, Zira held her baby close and stood by Kalen. The beacon flashed like a heartbeat. Outside, the wind began to pick up. Something was coming, a rescue, or a storm. The forest was quiet, too quiet. Kalen stood outside the shelter looking up at the sky. The wind blew through the trees, shaking the old branches. He could feel something coming, the rescue ship, but also danger. Inside the shelter, Zira rocked her baby gently, whispering soft words in her language. The beacon still blinked with a steady rhythm, a small sign of hope, but every minute felt like an hour. "How long now?" she asked. Callan checked the signal screen. 40 minutes. If they stay on course, they'll be here soon. Zira nodded, but her face was tense. What if the colony soldiers arrive before that? Callan didn't answer. He had no easy words. He tightened the straps on his tool belt and stood ready. Suddenly, a sharp beep came from the jammer device. A red light flashed. "They're scanning again," Callan said. "The jamming is breaking. They know something's here." He ran to the edge of the forest and climbed a small hill. From there, he saw dust rising in the distance. A small patrol vehicle was moving fast toward Sector E9. "They're coming," he whispered. Back in the colony, Mara paced inside the command room. She had already delayed the team once, but now the leaders were growing impatient. "We lost 2 drones. A foreign signal is broadcasting, and now someone jammed our systems." The colony director turned to Mara. "No more delays. Send in a full squad. Find out what's happening." Mara clenched her jaw but nodded. "Yes, sir." As the squad prepared to move out, Mara slipped away. She knew she had only one chance left. Back in the forest, Callan ran back into the shelter. "They'll be here soon," he said. "Maybe 10 minutes. We need to be ready." Zira stood and tightened the wraps on her baby. Her hands shook, but her voice was calm. "I will go. If they take me, at least my child can be safe." "No," Callan said. "You're not alone in this. We stay together." Suddenly the beacon made a loud sound. A new message came through. "Rescue ship entering atmosphere. Prepare for landing." Zira's eyes filled with tears. "They are almost here." Callan rushed outside and set up an old flare device. He aimed it at the sky and pressed the button. A bright green flame shot into the air, marking the landing spot. Then he heard it, a deep humming sound in the sky. The trees trembled. A large alien ship slowly came into view, descending above the forest. Its silver surface reflected the sun. Zira stepped outside, holding her child close. The ship hovered above the clearing, its landing ramp opening slowly. But, just before it could touch down, the sound of engines roared behind them. The colony patrol vehicle burst through the trees. Soldiers jumped out, weapons raised. "Hands up," one shouted. Zira backed away, shielding her baby. The rescue ship paused mid-air, sensing the threat. Callan stepped forward with both hands raised. "Don't shoot. She's not dangerous." "She's an unauthorized alien on human soil," the lead soldier yelled. Then another voice came from the trees. "Mara, hold your fire." Everyone turned. Mara walked into the clearing, her hand up, stepping between Zira and the soldiers. "She's not our enemy," Mara said. "She's a mother who survived a crash. She's been hiding, starving, and protecting her baby." The soldiers hesitated. "She stole from our storage," one said. "She took food to keep her baby alive," Mara replied. "Would you have done any different?" The leader lowered his weapon slightly. "We were told there was a threat." "There was no threat," Mara said. "There was only fear. And fear made us blind." Suddenly, the ship above them began to descend again. A voice echoed from its speakers. "We come in peace. Request permission to land." Callan looked at the soldiers. "Let them take her home. She doesn't belong here." After a long silence, the leader nodded. "Stand down," Zira cried as the ship landed fully. The ramp lowered, and 2 alien medics stepped out. They rushed to her side, gently helping her and the baby onto the ship. Before she left, Zira turned to Callan. "You gave me life again," she said softly. "You saved my child. I will never forget you." Callan stepped forward, his heart heavy. "You showed me something too. That kindness still matters. Even across the stars." She reached out and touched his hand gently. "Someday we will meet again." Then she turned and walked up the ramp. The baby looked back once, small and quiet in her arms. The ship rose, into the sky, growing smaller and smaller until it disappeared into the clouds. Back at the colony, things slowly returned to normal. The leaders were quiet about what had happened. No one punished Callan or Mara. In fact, some people began asking questions, curious about the truth. Callan returned to his work, but something inside him had changed. Every day he looked at the sky and thought of Zira. Weeks later, a package arrived. It had no return name, just a symbol of her people. Inside was a soft blue scarf, a crystal pendant, and a tiny hollow image of Zira and her baby, both smiling, at Mao. The bottom was a message. You didn't just save us. You reminded us what hope looks like. Callan smiled, holding the pendant close. One human, one choice, had changed more than just one life. He had changed two worlds.